Conference, we meet this year in the centre of an economic and political shock, the like of which has never been seen before. And for students, no less than anyone, these are worrying times. Graduate recruiters are barely recruiting. Places for new students in higher education have been capped by the government. People who leave university this summer will be lumbered with huge student debts that will grow before their eyes. We've all got a duty to protect the poorest and most vulnerable through this recession. But we also have an obligation to step up and to use the crisis posed by recession as an opportunity to cast a new argument about our education. We want a funding system where what you pay matches the real benefit over the long term, not some kind of buy now, pay later gamble. A funding system which gives you the flexibility to move in and out of learning and between institutions, helping us to deal with life changes and to take new opportunities. A funding system that doesn't allow a market to open up, limiting people's choices, reinforcing old divisions, a more balanced system, a more social system, a fairer system. That's the kind of education funding system we should be fighting for when the recovery comes. We must expose the catastrophic logic of building an education system dependent on markets. It almost beggars belief that at a time when students are facing worsening hardship, a more hostile graduate jobs market than ever before, that leaders of our universities should be calling for fees to double and modelling the expansion of the higher education market. Make no mistake, the debate has begun and we need to shape it with a hard-hitting campaign that sets out a new deal for our students. Because if we get our message right and our campaign right, we should see widespread calls for investment in education coming from everywhere, in all its forms, as a solution to our problems.
Over the past few months, we have tried to reason with the university about the ill-advised investments and expenditures of our money that we didn't agree to, along with all the changes brought about unannounced and in a non-ethical fashion, and were met with unconvincing excuses and empty promises. We find it hard to believe that an institution such as this one does not have a 3-year financial plan that spans over the period of its longer courses. At enrolment, we were all given a course handbook specifying a number of hours of tutorials for each of the units of the course, but we are no longer being delivered the service we paid for. Regardless of the financial situation and other such circumstances, whatever they may be, it is our understanding that in such instances, it is required by the college to deliver the service we were sold when we first enrolled on the course, even if that means going into further debt for you, or for us, appropriate compensation. We have tried to work this out with formal letters, petitions and meetings, but it was all in vain and you have left us with no other choice than this. We have therefore, as of this moment, taken over the Byam Shaw School of Art and will not retreat our occupation until you have granted us the following points. A reinstatement of the budgets and a return to the tutorial hours as they were for the academic year 2006-2007, when the current Stage 3 students on the BA first enrolled on their course. According monetary compensation of all the already lost hours of tutorials proportionally to the tuition fees and the number of tutorial hours specified in the course handbook given to each of the students when we originally joined the course. A reinstatement of the budgets for materials in the various workshops as they were for the academic year 2006-2007. That studio opening hours be the same as on the fine art course offered at Southampton Road from square bracket to square bracket during the week and square bracket on Saturdays. An assurance that the Byam Shaw BA Fine Art course will not become a pathway of another course and will retain its independence from the other BA Fine Art course offered at Southampton Road. Transparency in the allocation of funding and that any proposed changes be formally communicated. That students be represented in any forthcoming meetings about the future of their course and be given the right to veto any major changes to the way their course is run. A return to the direct employment of the students by the Byam Shaw School of Art and a cessation of the outsourcing of the school. And that no repercussion happens on any of the students following the present events. Finally, we urge you not to waste your time and our money on sending in anyone who is not involved in the decision-making process. We will only negotiate with the rector.
I think there's a lot lots of problems in education at the moment. There's like a crisis in education, I'd say. Especially since they brought in like tuition fees. I think it's given universities a chance to like kind of exploit students, and I just think education's been turned into like a business. Maybe people are less like into kind of doing this kind of thing because they just don't know like where to start. You don't know who to go to, you don't know who's in charge and how you do anything like that. That's maybe it.
Sherry, who was here earlier, who worked for the arts newspaper, is meeting Kit tomorrow.
Okay.
So, yeah, Kit will definitely get to know about it in the Students' Union, and I think she's meeting Helen Gimber, so...
That's another thing Alistair was a bit worried about. He was worried about the media and it going very wide very quickly before seeing whether we can sort it in internally first. But I think we've tried that already.
Yeah, we've already tried this internal discussions and things going back and forth. We need to remember we've done all this for months and nothing's happened.
Well, half of your year's gone, isn't it? You're not going to get that time back.
Yeah, and I think we're doing something. Quite important nationally, you know, for other people in other situations similar to us. And I think if it was just like, here, you've got what you want now, just don't tell anyone for God's sake that you actually, you actually change things. I think that would be really a shame for everyone that could kind of benefit from it.
We need to decide what we want to happen during the daytime. I mean, obviously when we're here at night, it's obvious who's here, but in the daytime, how is our presence going to be known or not?
I mean, we don't want to disrupt other students.
No.
Yeah, that is, we never we've never talked about it being a picket line, like.
Well, we're not boycotting. We're being protective. We're not just refusing to work. It's quite the opposite. So that's why we're having things that we're putting on, whether it's talks or lectures or.
But that means we have to be active, like.
Well, yeah, but the fact that there is a presence doesn't mean that the presence is not doing anything. It doesn't mean we're just saying that we can be doing things.
I can see sort of there were expectations that have not been met, partly because
it's not just expectations, it is a very concrete contract. It is on paper. It is a handbook that we were given when we started the course.
Well, this I think would be valuable if you can spell this out.
Well, we've got it downstairs, we used it to write this, but it stayed behind.
Bring this to attach to.
But Laura has brought this to many meetings before, and that didn't lead to anything, and to the student forums down at Central St Martin's as well. It didn't lead to anything. And that, I mean, we have tried other ways, and that's why we have decided that it has to come down to this. Do 30 learning hours per week, 9 taught contact. We used to have a couple of tutorials a week when I was in my first year, whereas now I've only had one this term, and that was after my assessment. So, I mean, what's the point in that? So I've been here for 6 weeks this term, working towards an assessment that counts towards my degree, and I haven't been able to see anyone. I could have worked at home. Why am I paying for this?
I think you have to.
Well, part of what you're paying for is to have a studio space which is available to you, which is.
Well, maybe. Well, so far I've been talking about about what people have been saying collectively, but if you want to. Very personally, I'm in a lot of debt because I'm an international student and I'm paying £9 grand every year. Where's that £9 grand going? 1 tutorial per term. I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied at all.
The great bulk goes in salaries and pay.
Well, salaries and pay, but I've only seen my tutor once. I don't think that service is worth £9 grand.
This is we have Yoshi, sushi master chef, 3 Michelin star, who just prepared some sushi in a very nice IKEA sets of Tupperware, and he brought it to us. I think there's about enough rice to fill 16 elephants, so we should be enjoying ourselves tonight.